have some really highly valued clients out of town, Bay Area, New York, and other states. So welcome. Look forward to chatting with you guys afterwards. We'll get this on YouTube. I'll get the links to you guys if you want to send them out to some of your other clients and contacts. It'll be a good opportunity to share what you're doing in the industry and provide some value to people. So instead, we're going to get started. Thanks for coming. You know, as always, it's hard to gauge the crowd until we're here. And you know, I thought we might have a little bit bigger crowd in terms of who RSVP, but as it is, we'll still get a lot of value out of it. I know every time I hear a presentation or helped conduct a presentation, I learn something. And with several people in here are either in the real estate, well, they're in the real estate industry either as real estate agents or in other endeavors, we'll learn some good stuff. So looking forward to it. Quick introduction in terms of how this is going to differ from the workshops a couple of you guys have been to here before. Generally, when we put on an investors workshop, and we do a few a year, people want to hear about what we're doing in flipping houses, quite frankly. I always say that's kind of a crude term for what we use, but it's simple to understand. So they see the before and after photos in our binders and what we're putting up on some of our social media pages. And we have investors that fortunately we've kept pretty happy with our performance, and so we put out some reviews on it and things. But that's really the short-term stuff, and that's a big part of our business focus, and we're thankful for it. But especially for people who are looking at long-term investing, maybe they're starting out at a younger age, like some of you guys, the pathway to real sustainable long-term wealth is through holdings, you know, whether it be commercial holdings, land, or as I'm sure we'll talk about a lot tonight, and Matt will present on towards the end, is rentals. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. I'm sure I'll talk about some of our experiences after I turn the floor over, and how some of the rehab work we've done in real estate has an interplay with the topics tonight. But it's really gauged towards those who want to use real estate as part of their portfolio. So I know folks tuning in tonight on the web have real estate portfolios that are a significant part, if not the biggest part, of what they envision to be their retirement. So we're going to, Jeff is going to talk about 1031 exchanges. Chris is going to talk about leveraging that property through cross-collateralization into more investments. And then Matt will talk about tenancy, which is probably the most important thing in any long-term holding. And I'll interject here. Well, this was all geared towards long-term stuff, building net worth, using leverage and collateral to acquire new investment property, and that's it turned in building a long-term real estate portfolio. A lot of that, not all of it, like I just mentioned, the land purchase, the land usage, there's no tenant there, but most of it, whether you have a commercial building like this and you're leasing out space, or you have a multifamily building and you have a property manager taking care of 6 units, or you have 6 different houses located around the metropolitan area, you have to manage those properties. And one of the most important facets of a successful real estate investment is the tenant. So we're going to have Matt come up and talk about some of the tips that we've learned together and some of the most positive attributes of creating and maintaining good tenants.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Matt Johnson. I'm a 3 Point representative, property management representative here at 3 Point. We're going to be discussing the importance of maintaining positive tenant-owner relationships, the benefits that come from it, as well as the steps to ensure a positive, mutual, beneficial relationship with both parties. I really like the informalness of the discussion, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me and chime in with any questions or comments that you guys may have. So let's say you guys just purchased a new home that you want to use for investing purposes, right? So you did all the repairs, you did all the rehab, you fixed it up, the house is move-in ready. So what do? You have to find a tenant. You want to start, you have to have a tenant because you want to start recouping that money that you invested into the property. You want to start getting it back out of it, right? So most owners I talk to at this stage, they want to put a tenant in there right away. They want to start getting that money. They want to get that investment, that money back out of it as soon as possible. I tell them not to make a rash decision, not to make a haste decision, and really take your time to properly vet the tenants beforehand. You know, it's really important to build a rapport with these people on the front end of the relationship. Take your time to do your research, take your time to get to know these people, and that's gonna eventually live in the home.
I've messed that one up personally when I started out, so.
I think we all have.
So, like I was saying, I understand the frustration that the owners are put in this position. They invest this money, they fork out all this money out of their pocket to fix the house up, so they want to get the people in there right away. The best way to build a good rapport with the tenants would be, I like to say, is have a phone call conversation with them. So you put these ads on Craigslist, you put these ads on Trulia, you put these ads on Zillow, and you're trying to generate that business. So the people, I always recommend put your phone number on there, because that way it forces them to call you. Phone calls are more personal, they're more, you get a better feel for the person versus an email or versus a text. So I always recommend put that on there. And also it weeds out the serious buyers or serious renters from the people who are just wasting time, and then there's a lot of scam artists out there on Craigslist. So it weeds out all the good from the bad, and it saves you time in the long run as well.
A lot of the large property management companies, he's differentiating what he does, differentiating that between what these companies do. They'll have like a data input form, and people, you don't have to have a conversation at all, you don't have to have any communication at all, they just input data, they're looking at numbers only, and they make their decision almost solely based off that. So that's the kind of thing he's kind of warning against there.
So like I said, our goal is to get them on the phone initially. And then once we get them on the phone, we want to ask them simple questions. When do you want to move? Why you want to move? How many people are moving to the house? Any pets? Because you want to get them to talk about themselves versus talking about the property. And that way you get a better feel for them over the phone and that initial conversation, and you start to build that initial rapport with them. So once you talk to them on the phone and everything checks out, and you send them the application and they seem interested, they send you all their information back. You get the income, you verify the income, you get the rental history, background check if possible, credit score. So now it's time to review all this information. A lot of people, a lot of owners, they don't want to take the time to make the appropriate phone calls, to do the appropriate research. I highly recommend that you do that. Take the time, do a check, call their job and see if they actually work there. See how long they've been at that employment. Maybe ask them, are they a reliable employee? Do they show up every day? Take the time to ask these questions. Also,
well, I just have to ask that because I'm a landlord. I haven't found that they divulge that particular information because there's a lot of liability.
Some do, some don't. But just
you can verify employment, for example, and do those kinds of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times, oftentimes, like there's a new scam going on out there with fake pay stubs. People can send you in fake pay stubs, and so it'd be good just to call to verify that hey, they so and so work here. It's always
similar to what we were talking about earlier with the rental references, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
what do we run into with that kind of fraudulent rental references?
With like the owners?
Yeah.
The owners yeah. So if an owner says they own a property, we'll do our due diligence to check to make sure that they're actually the owner. We'll look them up on tax records to see when they bought the property to make sure they're the actual owner, who they say they are.
Sometimes the applicant will put down the owner of their property. It's really, their cousin Billy. Yeah, and then they call him up. Oh yeah, he's great. He always pays his rent. He's always on time, and he's just reading the script for his cousin or whatever. Right?
Exactly. So
not only he does that diligence, he gets on the phone. He asks some investigative questions to make sure.
So
you require them to bring a credit check with them, the credit review.
No, we don't require it, but some different landlords may require it, different property managers may require it.
I seem to in San Francisco pretty routinely.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that we wanted Matt to talk about are some of the alternative measures, right? Because that's what a lot of people do. They want to see the credit check and they call it a day, but that's really kind of a superficial investigation. And so the stuff that he does in my experience, tends to be a lot more effective. And then if we have a landlord who doesn't want a credit check, what do you do? What do you tend to have them do?
Well, I've done different routes myself. I've gone as far as like going to their social media pages to see like what type of person they are, how they live their life, and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like I said, you just want to get the better feel for these people and really understand who they are as a person and as a people, as a family.
You can always have them run their own credit for free on freecreditscore.com one time, and then scan. I think we've had tenants scan their free credit report into him.
Okay, so now we've done all the research. We've built this initial report that people are talking to them on the phone. We've done our research. Everything checks out. Everything looks good. and they're ready to receive, or they're ready to turn in their rental application to begin the process even further. So now what we do is we conduct an in-home interview, and we actually go to their house where they currently live, and we want to meet everybody that's going to be in the house, that's going to be living in the new house. We want to meet the family, we want to meet the mom, the dad, the kids, everybody's going to be with the family dog, whoever's going to be there, we want to meet them all. So just overall to get a better feel for them, you know, make it more personal. And then also, when we walk into their house, we get a glimpse into, to see how they're going to treat the new home. We get like, let's say we walk into a situation where there's holes in the wall, there's cigarette burns on the carpet, it's dirty, there's a weird odor. Like, chances are we're not going to want to rent to these people, because that's how they're going to treat the new home that they move into. You know, so we just use this as an overall feel to get a better gut feeling of what type of people they are. So then, after we take these steps, we get the phone interviews, we do our research, we have the in-home interview. We like to do a grading system, like an A through F grading system on all the applicants who are interested in the property, going from best potential renters to the least favorable renters, you know. And then, like, if you were the owner and you had a property manager, I would send you the report and then let you guys ultimately make the decision. But if you were the owner yourself, you would just review that report and then pick which candidate you feel is best from that list.
Sometimes you might think, well, why would I need to create a grading system for myself that I'm going to review? Well, sometimes just putting it down in writing and forcing yourself to scale them is really helpful. And Matt actually started doing that for us. I mean, we'd come across a number of pretty useful tips over the years. And when he started handling this for us, he implemented that grading system. And as Dorothy and I were going over, we thought, man, this is really helpful, because you know, you start remembering different things about people, and then it affects your subjectivity. But you grade them, and then you list them in a ranking order like that. I found it to be really, really effective, and it's really helped me a lot.
What I usually do is I get a credit report that they pay for. I check not only their last reference, but they usually give me 2 references, so I got 2 back.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. So I don't like the added step you're talking about, visiting the property,
Right.
or their current residence. I think it's a really great idea.
Yeah, and it just, because ultimately most owners want to find somebody who's going to be in there long term. You know, they don't want to keep having to find new tenants every year, every 2 years, so they want to find a really responsible, reliable tenant. So we feel we'll take an extra step in the front end to make it beneficial in the long run. So once you found a tenant and they moved into the house, you properly vetted them, everything's good, they start paying their rent. Most owners make a mistake by not keeping that door of communication open with the tenants, you know. So, like, I would recommend checking on the tenants every few months or so, you know, just to check in to see how things are going. Just give them a casual phone call. Hey, Jim, how are things going? How's your family? Is everything okay? You know, is anything going on with the house that I may need to know about? Any repairs or issues that may come up? You know, and that goes a long way, just by continuing to maintain that relationship that you built earlier on, and then also just, you know, because a lot of times the tenant doesn't want to call the owner, so you might have to call them to find out any repairs. Like, I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of what happened to some people for the properties that we managed that had poor communication, and it cost us big in the long run. So we had a tenant, she had a leak in one of her houses, or she had a leak in one of her showers, and instead of letting us know and letting the owner know, she decided to fix it herself. So she replaced the shower head, she replaced a broken shower head that was leaking, and she improperly assembled the new shower head, so it continued to leak. And not only was it leaking, but now it was spraying everywhere, and it was spraying onto the carpet, and it caused like a mold, and it caused like some more damage to the house. So the owner was upset. He was upset because the water bill was more expensive now, and then also the house is getting damaged. You know, so he was upset, the tenant was upset, like both parties were upset. So it eventually led into the lease not being renewed. And then, in the long run, more money out of the owner's pocket.
One thing I'd qualify on that is because Matt did a great job mitigating the damage on that. That was a tenant we assumed. So that wasn't a tenant we placed, right? So we assumed a property management contract that already had a person in it. And so he went a long ways to, I would call it, repair or mitigate what damage was already being done. But in the end, it turned out to be a fairly negative situation because those steps weren't taken initially.
Right, exactly.
So now we're in the process of, he's handling all the repairs for them. We're gonna get it fixed up, and then they'll re-rent it the right way.
Right, exactly. So that was just a short example of a situation that we had that I want to share with you guys that hopefully can be avoided if ever you guys own a property and in this situation in the future, by taking these steps to ensure that you have good tenant-client relationships and everything moving in a smooth, orderly manner. 3 Point Real Estate, like every tenant we've placed using this system, we've never had to evict anybody. We're batting 100 right now, so we've never had to evict anybody using this system and procedure. So it's proven to work for us, you know. Go ahead.
No, I thought they move.
And I was just to finish up is, I know most homeowners are busy, you know, with their day-to-day lives, their family, their job, their work, their obligations. So if you feel like you don't have the time to manage the property or build that rapport, vet the tenant properly, I would recommend hiring a property manager. You know, that's something that we do on a day-to-day basis. We do it every day. If you hire a good property manager, you know, the pros will definitely outweigh the cons and outweigh that minimal monthly fee that's associated with it. We essentially work as the middleman between the owner and the tenant. A lot of times, like I was saying earlier, the tenant doesn't want to call the owner and say, hey, the shower's broken. Could you send somebody out here to fix it? Or they don't want to say, hey, I'm going to be late on my rent this month. I just need a few more extra days to pay. They don't want to have those conversations with them because they're not good. They're not friendly conversations to have. So in result, they just don't have it. They don't call them. And the owner doesn't know what's going on. It can lead to a bad relationship. And vice versa. If the tenant's late on the rent, the owner doesn't want to call the tenant and say, where's my money? Where's my money? When are you going to have my money? You know, that can lead to a bad relationship. So it's our job to be the middleman. I don't have any problem calling the people, calling the owner, calling the tenant, being that middleman so they can keep their good positive relationship on both ends, and we'll just be the mediator in the middle.
What do you think of the idea of having in the contract that every 3 months you can inspect the house to prevent tenant purposeful damage?
That could be something that's added into it. That would be more time consuming for the
That doesn't
owner.
sound like fun.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it could be a hassle for the tenant, more time consuming for the owner. I feel it'd be more important, or it'd be the best approach would be to build that relationship so they feel comfortable enough to communicate with you. If those lines of communication are open, so they'll feel, like I said, comfortable to pick you up and say, hey, this and this so-and-so is going on, this toilet's broken, etc.
One of the things to touch on, because I think what you're thinking is not there's a problem with the house and they're not comfortable relating it to the owner, but they're just damaging the house.
Right, because
Oh,
some
okay.
friends of mine, they bought about 5 houses during the recession, and he's a contractor, and they had one tenant that was terrible, that caused about $10,000 or $15,000 worth of damage. So they purposely, not accidentally.
Right.
So thereafter, they wrote into their rental contracts that they could go buy the house every
So-
3 months.